Hello, I'm Cathy. Welcome to Lunar Bird Book Club. Hello, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I am so excited to film this today. Today we are continuing the Classics with Cathy series, where we look at classic works of literature throughout time. So we started last time with the Odyssey. I'll put a link in the description below. And now we're jumping forward through time to the 5th century BC, and we're going to look at The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Now this is one of those books where when you hear about it and from its reputation, you think it's one of the most intimidating works out there. But let me tell you, this is one of the most readable and accessible works of ancient literature you're going to come across. And actually, it's quite inspiring. And a book that's definitely worth picking up, even if you feel like it might be too complicated for you. I promise you it's not. So here are some basic facts about The Art of War. I don't have an actual copy with me because my copy is an Audible one. The Art of War is attributed to an ancient Chinese military strategist, Sun Tzu. It was written around the 5th century BC and has remained throughout history a very influential book, not just in the practice of warfare, but in politics, business and sport. The book is like a guide to conducting warfare, ancient warfare, and it's split into 13 chapters, and each chapter looks at a different element of conducting warfare, and it covers things like espionage, supply lines, maintaining morale among your soldiers, retreating, and battle strategy. Now, at this point you might be thinking, Cathy, I'm not really into military history, I'm not really into studying war, I'm just not that interested. Why should I read this? And that's a valid question. There are two reasons why I think you should read this book, even if you think you don't care about military history or strategy at all. The first is, it's surprisingly an arresting book when you read it. So The Art of War is kind of written as a guide to warfare from like an ancient war strategist to an up-and-coming leader, and a lot of it is written, or at least it is in the English translation, in the second person. So it says, so when you take out your troops here, you're going to want to look at this, and when you're planning your battle, you need to think about what your enemy is doing, and when you're speaking to your troops, you need to do this. You need to love your troops as if they're your own sons. And because it's written in the second person as like an instruction manual, suddenly, especially when you're reading the audiobook, so when you have a voice speaking these instructions to you, and the audiobook that I've been listening to is narrated by, I've forgotten his name, the actor who plays Littlefinger in Game of Thrones. So superbly done. So when you hear in particular, or when you read this, you know, you're going to do that, and then you need to do this, and have you thought of that? Suddenly, it's a bit like a choose your own adventure book. You do find yourself thinking, oh goodness, I better go look after my army. It places you just suddenly imagine that you're sitting at the table with a wise old general, and he's imparting his best bits of wisdom to you. And I just think it's amazing. I mean, and that's the purpose for what The Art of War was written. It was to inspire and inform the conduct of up-and-coming ancient Chinese military leaders. And because the book was written to them, but you read it, and it's written with such passion and wit and intelligence, that the experience of reading it, you are placed into the shoes of an up-and-coming Chinese ancient military leader. And I think that's quite a powerful and cool experience where, you know, I'm listening to this story whilst I'm washing the dishes, and I really ought to be thinking about, you know, washing the dishes and putting the recycling away and doing my day-to-day things, but actually in my head I'm like, okay, yeah, I need to plan out my next battle. I need to figure out what my enemy is doing. I need to rouse my troops and get them going. And it's just really effective writing. And I just think it's incredible that something that was written thousands of years ago in a country on the other side of the world, written by people and for people very different from me, can speak so strongly and so passionately and put me in that different time and place and mind frame. It's very effective writing, and even if you have no interest in warfare, it's kind of cool to have the experience of sitting at the feet of an ancient Chinese general and hear his wisdom. I think that's just super cool, and I think that's one of the most amazing and powerful things about reading ancient literature. So that's the first reason why I think you should read it. I think it's just a cool reading experience. The book is very short. The audiobooks are very short. The language is really accessible. You will understand it. It's not too complicated, but it's filled with wisdom and intelligence and passion and worth reading. The second reason why I think you should read The Art of War, even if you have zero interest in military strategy, is that actually the wisdom shared in this book goes far beyond military implications. The idea of knowing your competition, knowing your own strengths and weaknesses, seizing opportunities, applies to lots of different areas of life. And actually this book's often read by politicians and business leaders and sporting athletes and strategists. So the wisdom from this book has far-reaching consequences. And I just want to share with you some of the quotes from here to kind of demonstrate that. And with all of that, I also say that to say this is a book about military strategy and about warfare and about winning, it is surprising how bloodthirsty it is. This isn't a book about demonizing your enemies and destroying them no matter the costs or winning no matter what. At the heart of this book is a very humane and almost peace-loving mentality. So one of the key quotes in the book is, I'm going to read it, is that the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. The whole book seems to have the premise of war and fighting an actual battle is actually the last resort you want to take. And the book actually holds, through a lot of its principles, that human life has immense value and you don't want to squander it. And you don't want to squander the health and the well-being of your nation by engaging in lots of warfare. And again, I think that adds layers of meaning and wisdom to this book. Let me share with you a couple more quotes from this fantastic book. This one might sound familiar. In the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity. I think that is pretty much what Littlefinger says in Game of Thrones. Okay, here's one. You know what I said about how, like, when you read this book, you're kind of transported through time and place to sit with this general and hear his strategies. Just imagine how it'd feel to hear these words coming out of an ancient army leader. Let your plans be dark and impenetrable as night, and when you move, fall like a thunderbolt. That's good, right? And how about this? Treat your men as you would your own beloved sons, and they will follow you into the deepest valley. So I think those quotes just show like how this book has just far-reaching wisdom. So that is my quick summary of The Art of War and why I wholeheartedly recommend it's a book that you should pick up and read and enjoy. I hope you've enjoyed hearing about that. Please do let me know in the comments if you have read The Art of War or if there's any other ancient classic books that have taken you by surprise. If you haven't already done so, please also like and subscribe. We'd love to have you join us at Lunarbird Book Club. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.